Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This week I wanted to talk about something in travel that I feel like really isn't addressed all that often, and that is maintaining your mental health while on the road. A lot of people, I think, kind of view travel as this thing where, I'm going on this great vacation, I'm going to the beach, whatever, to get away from all of my problems. But unfortunately, mental health really doesn't care about your timeline. It doesn't care that you're on vacation, it doesn't care where you are. If you're gonna have a mental health crisis, it's gonna hit regardless of what you're doing or where you are. Mental health has an unlimited passport. So today I'm gonna talk about some of the ways that I keep up my mental health and try to kind of combat any mental health issues ahead of time by preparing properly. Let's get into it. Okay, so my number one tip I realize will only really apply to you if you are already in some kind of counseling or therapy. And that is, if you are going to be on the road for a minimum of like a week, make sure you have an appointment scheduled with your therapist while you are on your trip. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. But Jen, the entire point of me going on vacation is to get away from my problems. I don't want to talk about them while I'm on the road. And yes, going on vacation is a great way to kind of reset, get yourself into a better mental state. All of that is totally true. However, things can happen even while you're on the road. For me personally, I initially did not plan on having a therapy session scheduled for my 3-week road trip that I did last month. I decided to kind of hedge my bet and just kind of do it anyways. I could cancel it if I needed to. And lo and behold, 2 weeks in, I had a traumatic moment. If you follow along on Instagram, you already know all of this, but I had to catch the last red-eye flight out of Chicago. I got home at 1 a.m. because my cat's health had taken a sudden turn for the worst and we needed to have him put down. And so I got home about 1 a.m., we put him down about 6 a.m., and less than 24 hours later, I was back on a plane, right back to Chicago, where I hopped in my car. I drove 6 hours to Cincinnati because I still had brands to work with and people to see. And, I was meeting an internet friend for the first time, and I kind of had to put on this act like I was totally fine, when in reality, I wasn't. Luckily for me, I got to Cincinnati on Monday, and my therapy appointment had been scheduled for Tuesday. Thank goodness for that therapy appointment. Because honestly, if I hadn't had that to help me start to deal with and process everything that I had gone through over the past couple of days, I would have been a really boring, awful, depressing person to be around, which is not the first impression that I wanted to give this internet friend of mine that I was meeting for the first time in person. It's always easier to cancel a pre-existing appointment, 24, 48 hours in advance, than it is to kind of call your therapist up at the last possible second and say, oh my god, this crazy thing happened, or I just had this breakdown, I need an appointment ASAP, and now they can't fit you in because they're totally booked. Err on the side of caution, just make an appointment ahead of time. If you're having a great time, nothing is going wrong, and you're feeling totally at peace, cancel. You can call or email and cancel it. And the best part about this is that, well, not the best part about this, but the best part, I think, one of the greatest things to come out of this pandemic that we're in, is that most mental health providers have switched over to telehealth and now have the capability to provide telehealth services, whether they're doing your appointment on video or, doing your appointment on the phone. There are options there now that we really didn't have much of before. So that's tip number 1. All right. Tip number 2 is to schedule some downtime during your trip. Vacation burnout is a very real thing. I have experienced it time and time again, and I have finally gotten to a place where I know how to avoid it. As especially American travelers, from what I have been told from other friends, we tend to try to do all of the things in a very short amount of time. And many people are left, going home from their vacation feeling like they need a vacation from the vacation. And that's not how it should be. So if you want to avoid that burnout, you want to avoid feeling that way when you get home from a trip, schedule downtime. It can be as simple as scheduling a day where you decide to sleep in. You don't set your alarm clock. It can be, scheduling yourself for a day at a spa. It could be just taking a nap. Choose an afternoon and be like, okay, on this day, I'm going to go take a nap. Especially great if you happen to have a rainy day on the schedule. Like, just go to bed. It's fine. No one's going to judge you. Who cares? And if, all of that sounds great, maybe even consider having a whole day where you don't do anything at all. I know it sounds crazy, but I promise you it's one of the best ways to avoid burnout. Every moment of every day of your trip does not need to be planned, and your mind will thank you for it later. Alright, tip number 3. Sounds a little crazy, but 100% true. Try to maintain your routine while you're on your trip, or at least parts of your routine. As humans, we tend to thrive when we have a routine. You've probably heard a number of people on Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever, talking about the importance of having a morning routine. So for some people, that looks like, waking up, feed your dog, have a cup of coffee, maybe watch the news, and then get into work. Other people have a whole long thing where, you meditate, you work out, you have your coffee, you journal, you do all of the things every single morning. If you have a lengthy morning routine, obviously you probably don't want to stick with that while you're on your trip. Choose 1 to 2 of your, morning tasks or whatever they are throughout your day, whether it's morning or night, that bring you the most peace, whether that be journaling, reading, doing yoga, meditating, whatever it is that, really just centers you and grounds you. Keep doing that on your trip. You don't need to do your entire routine. You don't need to wake up at the same time that you normally would while you're home, but maintaining some type of routine and stability can really help your mental state while you're away. Tip number 4 is having some community to help snap you out of that funk that you may be in. So for me, I have my husband who does do a great job at helping me work through things, even if I'm on the road. But at the end of the day, he's not a female traveler. He's not always on the road with me. He doesn't always know exactly what's going on in my head, what's going on in general. He doesn't necessarily know the area that I'm in. So instead, my community to kind of help me snap back into things is a few different Facebook groups. One would be the Girls Love Travel group. There's a solo female travel Facebook group. Handful of groups, and they're great. When I first went to Copenhagen, my very first day there, night there, everything had gone wrong. My luggage had been left by the airline back in Iceland, so I had nothing, even though it was freezing cold, and all my sweaters, for the most part, were in my suitcase back in Iceland. I couldn't find my Airbnb, didn't really understand the bus and train system yet at that point in time. I really had no idea where I was going. As I was walking, trying to find my Airbnb, it seemed like all the restaurants were closed, and I was just losing my mind. And starting to panic, anxiety, all of it. Thinking, what am I doing here? Why did I think I could do this? I'm not a solo traveler. I'm not cut out for this. I should just call the airline, change my flight to tomorrow, and get the first flight back home. I was done. I was over it. But I knew I needed someone to pick me up, because there was something. I knew part of it might have been exhaustion. At that point, I hadn't realized I had been awake for 36 hours. And so I posted in a Facebook group, hey, I'm in Copenhagen. This is the neighborhood in Copenhagen I'm in. I'm freaking out. Here's all of these things happening. It was awful. Hundreds of women immediately came together to kind of lift me up. I had women offering their homes to me if I didn't feel safe. I had women who knew the area really well and were telling me places to go get food because they all could just tell by my hysterics that I probably hadn't eaten in a while. I had women reminding me like, hey girl, you've been awake for 36 hours. Maybe you should go take a nice hot shower, decompress, and then just get yourself to bed. And like, while that sounds so basic, when you're in the middle of a panic attack and you're in the middle of doubting yourself, it's almost impossible to pull yourself out of it. You need to have a community external from whatever's going on in your head to kind of remind you of these basic human needs. And for me, that community is in these Facebook groups of other like-minded female travelers. For you, maybe it's your family, maybe it's your best friend. Like, it could be anyone. It could be real people, it could just be online friends. Whatever it is, have that community so that they can help you pull you out of whatever funk that you're in the middle of while you're on your trip. And finally, I wanted to share a handful of apps that I think can really help, maintain your mental health and kind of help you work through things while you're on the road. I have not used all of these apps. Just wanted to put that disclaimer out there, but I do know people who have used all of them. I've looked at all of the reviews, not all of, because most of them have hundreds of thousands of reviews, but I've looked at a lot of the reviews and they all seem to be really, really great. So I thought I would share them here. First up, meditation apps. I personally find meditating really helpful, but I can't really do it on my own. I definitely need to have guided meditations to help me get through things, or else I get super distracted. Not quite the most skilled meditator yet. However, I have used all of these apps that I'm about to recommend here. One is the Headspace app. I feel like this is probably one of the more popular ones. A lot of people know about this. Not my favorite, but a lot of people I know use it. Next is Insight Timer. I personally do really like this one. One of my very good friends uses this one a lot, and it's been super helpful. Third, we have the Calm app, another really popular one that I feel like runs a lot of ads. You've maybe seen this one quite a bit more. Next, we have Simple Habit. This one's a little more basic. I used this one for a while before kind of upgrading and getting into Insight Timer instead. And finally, we have the Balance app, which I also used for a very, very long time and actually used for like the first half of the pandemic. In addition to meditation apps, there are also actually apps out there that will provide counseling. I realize that having health insurance and the ability to afford counseling and therapy is definitely a privilege, and not everyone can do it. Same goes for being able to afford it on an app. My therapy is covered through my insurance, but not everyone has that, and not all insurance companies exactly cover it the best. So I wanted to just kind of throw these resources out there for you in case you're interested in kind of paying out of pocket, but you don't want to be tied down to going to an office for therapy. One option is the Better Health app, and the other option is the Talkspace app. Again, I have not used these personally, but they have really great reviews, and I know a couple people that do use them. There's a van lifer that I follow who I love. She's, my number one influencer that I pay attention to, but she raves about Better Health. Better Help, not Better Health. Better Help with a P. And I will write all of these down below in the comments. And that is all I've got for today. If you like this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to my channel for more.